Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello, 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 hello.
Hello. Waiting to see if a couple more people show up. Sarah will not be with us today, and I know that.
Rest in peace.
Hmm?
Rest in peace.
All right, Sarah. In fact, I kept talking about how I was going to change discussion to Wednesdays instead of Tuesdays. And I am doing that this weekend next week because obviously today is Wednesday. You don't come to school next Tuesday. But I think after that, I'll switch it back because um, Sarah's going to be taking lessons during this time on Wednesdays from now on. Ridiculous. Any idea where Julius could be?
I haven't
Stupid
seen
class.
him at all today in any of the classes. That's weird.
Oh, you know what? That now that you say that, we got an email this morning about how his internet was out and that he might not be able to be here. So that makes sense. I just totally forgot about it. Okay, well, let me get everybody else marked. Sarah will be virtually present because she is technically present somewhere. Or maybe she's present with someone else over Zoom. I don't know. But let's talk about Malala. Did y'all know who she was before you read this? Like, had you heard of her?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if she was like super widely known or anything. She was pretty famous for a while, like right when this happened and everything. Obviously, because there was like Malala Day, but I worked in a bookstore like when all that stuff was going on, and like her book came out, so I think I kind of had a skewed version of how big she actually was, but maybe I didn't. Everybody knows her. That's pretty cool. Okay, so she gave the speech to the United Nations. It's the first of several speeches we're going to be looking at. The first of four, at least. I haven't looked ahead at the Unit 3 stuff, so I don't know if any of that is speeches or not, but it's the first of our sort of political speeches. I mean, if she's giving it to the UN, I guess that's political. Um, but her whole thing was that, like, she got shot by the Taliban for speaking out against how women were not allowed to be educated, and like keeping people uneducated, which it talks about in the speech. But what do you think she's kind of hoping to see come out of her speech and out of her experiences?
I think that her speech was kind of meant to be bringing like as to her situation. Um, I'm not sure. I don't remember when this was given, but
I think it's 2013.
yeah, okay, that makes sense. But it's my cat. Uh,
Hi, kitty.
but but I think it's just trying to portray her view on the situation that happened. I don't know how right I am, but I don't think I am that right. So I'm gonna stop talking.
I don't think you're wrong. Anybody else have some ideas about that? What do you think she hoped to see happen as a result of her speech? And like, what was she hoping people would learn or be able to glean from her experience? Madison said it seems that she's trying to fight for more positive change within the government without having violence take place. For sure. I thought it was really interesting, actually, in her speech. She mentioned that, like, she didn't even hate the Taliban who had shot her. And if they were in front of her right now, she would not retaliate. And I think that's like a pretty remarkable tack to take, but it is very like anti-violence, obviously, because she's wanting to see a lot of change without having to resort to that, and she'd rather go about trying to enact change in a peaceful manner rather than even like taking revenge on the people who hurt her. So that's really interesting. Anyone else? What she was hoping would happen as a result of all of this? So her main thing sort of, can I get this pulled up somewhere? Let's see. Education is sort of her main platform, I guess. That's essentially like why she was shot in the first place. And it talks about how like the Taliban is against education mostly because it's sort of like it's both a power thing and a religion thing. It said they think God is a tiny little conservative being who would send girls to hell just because of going to school. And they're misusing the names of Islam and Pashtun society for their own personal benefits. And she points out, like, kind of playing into what Madison said about wanting to be nonviolent in order to enact change. Islam's a religion of peace, humanity, and brotherhood. Pakistan's a peace-loving country. Pashtuns want education for their daughters and sons, and people are going about it in all these horrible ways, or like they're trying to prevent it in really horrible ways. And she is directly addressing the Secretary General and saying that peace is necessary for education. Like, we can't keep going to war over this kind of thing. We can't keep having women and children suffering because they want to be educated. Like, young girls are being forced into child labor. They're being forced to get married really early because they don't have any other options. But it all kind of like plays into keeping people ignorant, which is obviously not great. She said poverty, ignorance, injustice, racism, and the deprivation of basic rights are the main problems faced by both men and women. I mean, like, that's a lot of problems too. And that she was focusing on specifically women's rights and girls' rights to an education because they're the ones that were suffering the most. I mean, like, all over the world, obviously, like, men have more opportunities than women in a lot of ways, and particularly when it comes to education, they do. So she's trying to kind of fight to make sure that everybody's having equal opportunities, which is another reason why I think that this one would really fit in Unit 1 as well, but I get why we're looking at it in Unit 2. I want to shift a little bit more towards like the rhetorical analysis side of things, because as I mentioned, your second essay, which I don't even want you to be thinking about yet, but your second essay is going to be a rhetorical analysis, and you'll be looking at this one or one of the upcoming ones, MLK, Obama, or Trump. Those are the three other things that we're looking at. So first of all, how would you describe the way that she addresses her audience, and what leads you to that conclusion? Like, what elements make you think the way that you're thinking? I don't know if I said that in a way that made sense.
She didn't really put herself on a pedestal, which was pretty good. Mm-hmm. And I don't have any specific examples because I'm still trying to load the thing.
Please give Corey Campbell report to the main office for dismissal.
Ooh, Corey
Campbell, please come to the main office for dismissal. Thank you.
Why is he even there?
I don't know why he's still here. But I actually was under the impression he was going to be here after school, so that's weird.
What a nerd.
I don't know. I know he was testing earlier. Maybe he's doing a lesson. I don't think he was on the list, but who knows? Who knows? Not me.
She uses the phrase "dear sisters and brothers" a lot, which kind of is probably what made me think that she does not put herself on a pedestal. And
Yeah.
the way that she just kind of shares her story, and the way that she expects us to come to our own conclusions with that story. She doesn't really like spoon feed it to the listeners.
She doesn't
Um,
really what? Say
she
again?
doesn't really spoon feed it, so it's not really the message isn't being like shoved down our throats.
Yeah, I agree with that. They're kind of like she's letting you take from it what you will, even though I think it's obvious what she wants you to get out of it, but she's not just like, this is what we need, this is what needs to happen, this is what you should get from my speech. She lets us kind of infer it. Madison says she tries to speak with familiarity to the audience. I think that's true, which I think from here on out, I might try to find videos of these actual speeches because I think it'd be interesting to hear how she delivered her speech. I did think about looking that up ahead of time. Maybe I can. Maybe we'll watch it at the end.
Wait, Miss McClellan.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm in D2L, right?
Yeah.
And it's saying alternative fall 2 classes now available. What does that mean?
That's not relevant to us. That's just stuff about Trident schedule. But they have like a couple of different fall sessions, but they also have a full fall session, which is what we're doing. So
Oh, okay.
I guess whatever classes are in the fall 2 session have opened up.
Okay, yeah, I thought that was something we were supposed to apply for, but I guess not.
No, it's not. It's not really anything to do with us. Yeah, I think it might be interesting to watch how she delivers it, just to like see the tone that she speaks in and everything, and also to see if she's. I kind of assume that there's like a big crowd here, but I don't actually know because the people that she's addressing are. I mean, she does say "dear sisters and brothers," but she also directly addresses the UN Secretary General, the President General Assembly, the Honorable UN Envoy for Global Education. So I don't know who else there, but this is obviously like a pretty important audience. Anybody else about her manner of addressing the audience? Okay. This is where you need to look closely at this speech. What rhetorical devices do you see her employing in this speech, and what effect do they have on its effectiveness?
So much repetition.
So much repetition. Like what?
Their right to blah blah blah. That's repeated like 4 times. Dear sisters and brothers, dear friends.
Yeah.
We call upon blah 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 blah.
I think we sort of talked about the effect of the sisters and brothers thing. Like she's kind of putting herself on their level, and I think also kind of by calling them dear brothers and sisters, I think she's sort of how do I phrase it? Like not lowering herself to them, but kind of like letting them know that they're important to her, and that it's important to her that they hear the message that she has. There's a little bit of repetition at the bottom of page 1 where she says like, I speak not for myself but for all boys and girls. I read that way yesterday too. Girls and boys. I don't know why I'm reading that wrong. I raise up my voice, like I do this, I do that. It's only for a second there, but and then Tom pointed out their right to live in peace, their right to be treated with dignity, their right to equality of opportunity, their right to be educated. Why do you think she uses repetition right there? What's the effect of that?
It doesn't convolute it as much. It makes it a lot more crisp and clear. Because if you say it's their right to live in peace, be treated with dignity, equality, and have the equality of opportunity to be educated, it just makes it feel like way too much is being said in one sentence, and it also really kind of hammers it into your head that people can have rights. That's kind of something that they should have.
Yeah, I think kind of clarifies what those rights are and like what the rights are that she's fighting for. I see a lot of repetition actually at the bottom of page 3 when she says, we call upon the world leaders, we call upon all governments, we call upon the developed nations, we call upon like several different people, and says specifically what she's calling upon them to do. And it's like, she's literally saying like, this is what I want from you. And it's like some pretty big asks, like we call upon all governments to ensure free compulsory education for every child all over the world. That's a pretty big thing to request, and a lot of people to request it from. But I think I think that also helps sort of hammer home the importance of what she's saying, and like how far reaching her message is. What about rhetorical devices other than repetition? What else do you see working in this speech?
I don't remember a lot of them.
I'm taking a look now to see what else I might notice. I think that this kind of plays into her tone, which we did talk about. I mean, like the way that she addresses her audience, that definitely has to do with her tone. But I think you see a lot of examples of her humility throughout this speech. For instance, in the beginning when she says, I don't know where to begin my speech. I don't know what people would be expecting me to say. I can't believe how much love people have shown me. And like she thanks all these people who have encouraged her along the way. And I think that helps play into that tone of humility, and just kind of show people that what she's saying is really important to her, and she wants to make sure that everybody knows that she feels grateful to be there and to be able to have the opportunity to talk to everybody about this. I think it's kind of simplifying things to say that she uses personal anecdote, because this whole thing is sort of, it's come out of the experience that she had. So I mean, like that's important, and she does tell like the dear friends on the 9th of October 2012, the Taliban shot me on the left side of my forehead. I mean, that is it's an anecdote, but I feel like that's kind of simplifying it to put it that way. It's just like giving us background knowledge. I think we could talk about logos. And I'm particularly looking, if you guys are looking along with it, it's like towards the bottom of page 2, at the paragraph that starts with the wise saying, the pen is mightier than the sword, was true. She goes on and she makes these claims like, the extremists are afraid of books and pens, the power of education frightens them, they're afraid of women, the power of the voice of women frightens them. All of those things are like claims that would be arguable, but she kind of backs it up by using examples of their violence. That's why they killed 14 medical students in the recent attack in, I'm not going to attempt to say these words that I don't know. That's why they killed many female teachers and polio workers. That's why they're blasting schools every day. Like that definitely plays into logos, because if you have these examples of things that they've done that directly go against the ideals that she is kind of promoting, that would be a good example of logos.
She
Go ahead.
she also uses like a ton of personal experiences to back up her claims, like what you were saying. That's all throughout the entirety of the speech.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she does do that. I think that's the personal example is better than saying personal anecdote. I think that's kind of what I meant. But you're right. It's like kind of strewn throughout the speech. Madison said metonymy, which like I'm losing my mind that you know what that is, because that's genuinely that's one of the ones that I have a really hard time with, metonymy and synecdoche. I don't even really teach them because I don't understand them well enough. But I think what you're talking about, you said at the end, let me know if this is not what you're talking about. One child, one teacher, one pen, and one book can change the world. And if I'm right about this, metonymy is when you use like a part of something to represent the whole, or like a small thing to represent a much bigger idea. So for instance, well, right here, what I'm looking at is like, can one pen actually change the world? Unlikely, but what one person does with that one pen could. And like, can one book change the world? Not just like having the book in front of you, but someone's experience with the book, the way that the book influences people, that can change the world. So it's taking this kind of small representative idea and using it to illustrate a bigger idea. Was that the example of metonymy that you're talking about, or did I totally mess that up? Yeah, okay. And I hadn't even noticed, Kayla privately said maybe pathos or logos, and I noticed it right after I talked about logos, but absolutely pathos. She definitely appeals to people's emotions. And even though I feel like this speech is actually fairly, like the tone is fairly objective, like I don't feel like she's like, feel sorry for me or anything. But she does manage to really emotionally reach her audience. It's hard not to be affected by the story of someone who was shot in the head and has recovered and like is using her experience to promote education and particularly women's education throughout the world. I think you have to be pretty stony not to care about that at all. But I think she does do that really well. And like Madison's pointing out, her using we and us is pathos. It's helping to put them on the same level and sort of let the audience know that she's speaking directly to them and kind of feels like they're a part of this experience too. The examples that she uses of like millions of people suffering from poverty, injustice, and ignorance, all the kids who are out of school, all of the people who have been killed because of these causes, that definitely all kind of plays into pathos as well. A lot of pathos. Okay, this is kind of just a personal reflection or question. She was a target for the Taliban because she was an outspoken advocate for education. Like, we hate to think of any kind of causes or protests or anything resorting, like anything like that resulting in violence, but it does happen. Can you guys think about like, are there any causes in your own life or in your community or in our country right now that you think is really worth standing up for? Like, hopefully not to the point of enduring violence, but is there anything that you feel strongly enough about that you're like, oh, I could definitely like give a speech about this and promote this idea?
There's one extremely obvious one, and I hope you're trying to like invoke us to talk about it.
I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. You might have different ones. You might think somebody else might think something else is really obvious, but I mean,
just with purely how much every single little thing in America is political.
Yeah.
That's a really big one. Like racial injustices that have been going on for months that aren't seeing any,
Right.
any like, I don't even know the word for it.
Like there's
Back,
no change or
yeah,
no.
nothing is changing.
Yeah.
People are like fighting for it every single day, and nothing's coming as a result of it.
Right.
Like what Madison said in the chat. I'm gonna steal her answer. Even the environment, the planet that we live on, like people aren't taking responsibility enough to like stop being selfish about it. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Literally everything that isn't default American. I agree with you. And I think it really does come down to selfishness. Like I keep hearing the phrase, I don't know how to make you care about other people. And I feel like that's what it comes down to, because things like, you know, climate change and stuff like that, it seems like it's such a big thing that like we couldn't do anything about it. Or even like, I don't know how any of you guys feel about this. Hopefully I'm not like upsetting anybody, but wearing masks, like that's not for you. It's not for your protection. It's for other people's protection. And I think that when we don't do that, we don't do everything we can to protect other people, that it's just a matter of selfishness.
working in downtown Charleston and on Market Street, which is like the most populated tourist central.
Yeah.
The store that I work in, we literally are not legally allowed to tell people to wear masks, because even though there is like a mask mandate downtown, there's like kind of a way around it, because if you have like strong signage recommending that people wear masks, they don't technically have to do it, so the store isn't liable.
Right.
But at the same time, like there's so many people. I counted like at least 10 yesterday, and it was a really slow day yesterday. I counted at least 10 people who just weren't wearing masks. And
it amazes me how people are like just cool with it. Like I've been in places where like the business owners are like, oh, you don't have to wear that in here. I'm like, well, you've got a sign on the door saying that I do, so I'm gonna keep it on just in case.
And it's even that, like going back to what I was saying earlier, that's been politicized. Like, if I recall correctly, I might be wrong on this, but he advocated against wearing masks. Then he got COVID as a result.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of, like, he held not socially distant rallies with like people not wearing masks and stuff, and then pretty much immediately got it. So
yeah, big yikes right there.
big yikes.
On like a grander scale of like politics and people just kind of it just separating, like America just splitting in half. Democrats and Republicans, that's just like the biggest thing you'll see.
Yeah, like everything is very polarized and becomes political, which it doesn't have to be. Like people can have their own beliefs and morals, and I feel like that's kind of what is dictating Democrat or Republican. But like your morals aren't necessarily, like, they're not political, or like the way that you feel about other humans, I don't think is political, or it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
And to go back to the mask thing, I've been working downtown the past 2 weeks.
Sorry to hear that.
I know, it's horrible. Like, I hate working downtown. It's disgusting. I don't even know how we went to school down there for 5 years. Anyways, like just walking down King Street to get to that to Lower King Starbucks, I see so many people just walking without masks. And I'm just like, bruh, even though we're outside, like you're still within like 6 feet of people because like the sidewalks are just so narrow.
Right.
And people look at me weird because I'm wearing a mask. I'm just like, eh.
I mean, like, of course you are. Like, you should be. We all should be.
Yeah.
Like the idea that they would get upset. In fact, Miss Caden actually had an experience, and this was in Mount Pleasant, which like they had gotten rid of their mask mandate. I think they may have since put it back. I'm not sure. But she went to get her hair cut in Mount Pleasant, and the woman doing it asked her to take off her mask. And she felt like really conflicted about it. She was like, well, I'm kind of upset that this woman's not wearing a mask in the first place if she's going to be cutting my hair. But second of all, like, if I want to keep my mask on, I feel like I should be able to.
Yeah.
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 There's one like crosswalk, and it's like 2 or 3 of them on just one corner of Market Street. And every single time that I go out there and look, it's just like a big, gigantic crowd of people. I didn't realize that it was because they're waiting on the crosswalk until like a couple of weeks ago. I just thought there was something going on over there.
Yeah.
I was driving to work one day, and I was turning into that crosswalk. By the way, that's an awful crosswalk to turn into because people don't understand that those signs telling people to walk and people to not walk, they're there for a reason, you know. But anyways, so as I was kind of driving into the Market Street, there was just a big crowd of like, I'd say 50 to 70 people. I did not see a single mask. And just because of the way that Market Street is, it was a very compact crowd.
Yeah.
So that was painful to see.
Seriously. Tom, where do you work downtown?
I work at Five and Dime on Market Street. It's like a souvenir store mixed with like a convenience store.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very boring job. People can be fun. Or they can be fun to talk to. But other than that, it's just retail, nothing to talk about.
Yeah, I get it. I've also worked retail. I know how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. We have how long? 13, 46. We have like 16 minutes left. You know what? I might just save this actually, but I think that I wouldn't mind like watching her give this speech, and I found it. So maybe we'll watch it in class together tomorrow. I also, no, we're just gonna work on quizzes and stuff tomorrow, so we would have time. Any like final thoughts about this or like takeaways from it?
It's a very efficient speech, and it doesn't use too many like complex rhetorical strategies like of this list that I've brought up here. It doesn't use ceasus onomaton. It doesn't use simplos. It doesn't need to utilize these complex techniques.
Yeah.
And it's also just not something that like is easy to argue against, so it doesn't have any like, it doesn't polarize people, which is good.
Right. I feel like it would be very hard to come up with like a counter argument to this. Like, of course people should be educated. Of course they should. And of course we should not invoke any violence to do that. Isaiah, I think we have just under the amount of time. It's like 16 minutes long.
Yeah, we can watch this tomorrow. But I feel like that speech overall was very empowering to me because it really lifts up a lot of people who are in a time or like in a feeling of state where they're like down and not certain about certain things. Mm-hmm. So she makes sure she reiterates it to everybody else to make them see the bright side and not the dark side. So yeah, I actually kind of like that. And it really refers to current society today too. Like the things talked about are still going on.
Yeah, 100%. And like, fortunately in our country, we don't have quite the same issues with education, but so many people in the world still do. And it's ridiculous. And I mean, like Tom said, it's not polarizing. Like this is definitely, unless you are like a member of the Taliban or something, which none of us are that I know of. You don't really have an argument against this. Like it's very hard
it's so accurate. It's so relevant.
It's very relevant.
Yeah.
No, it makes me feel pretty grateful, honestly, that we don't have these kinds of like severe issues in our country. Like for all the issues we do have, like equality in education on a minor scale, I think we do, because there are like, I mean, I could get into teacher stuff with you just about how like we act different to, or like we teach students who are like from impoverished families differently than we teach students who are from high income families, and how like standardized tests have racial bias in them and everything. Like it's not a complete level playing field, but it's a lot better than a lot of countries have it. And like, I'm definitely really grateful for that.
Another thing though is that this speech, it's a timeless speech. If like until all of these issues are fixed, this speech is never gonna lose relevance, which I think is really good, because people could read this like 100 years from now, and when nothing has changed in America, because it's America,
Right.
People will still be studying this speech and be like, "Wow, yeah, that's empowering."
Yeah.
Anyways.
I think it'll be like, I'm kind of looking forward to reading the other speeches, because MLK was the one that was written in the 60s, and we'll be able to see like if that's still relevant to us and to our society. And then the Obama and Trump ones obviously are like either as timely or like recent as Malala's, or even more so. And I think it'll be interesting to kind of look and see like, are these speeches still going to be relevant 100 years from now? Like, is this always going to be, is the message always going to resonate, or is this like an example of just something that was like a moment in time? So I'm kind of looking forward to reading these next few speeches. I like reading speeches. Like, they can be boring for sure. This one is not, which is nice. But because they're real and because they're relevant, I just think they're really kind of fun to examine more closely.
If I can perfect a Donald Trump impression, can I read the Donald Trump speech?
100% you can. I would love that. Absolutely. Do you have one that's imperfect? Like, have you worked on it?
Define imperfect.
Have you tried at all?
No.
Okay. Work on that for well, actually you have like 3 weeks, I think. But I think that's the order that we're reading them: MLK, Obama, Trump, I'm pretty sure. So you got a little while to work on it.
If I just played the audio clip and like mouthed along to the words, would you be able to tell the difference?
We can try. Okay, we've got like 10 minutes left, but I think this has been a pretty productive discussion. Any like final things before I let you guys go?
This discussion was very informative.
It was very informative.
It's gonna give me a good base to write my post on.
Yes, exactly. And that's really what I hope for from the discussions. Number one, I just like having discussions with you guys. So I think you're smart and you have good opinions, but also if it kind of like sparks something that you can write about in your discussion post, then all the better. All right. Well, I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow then. I think we'll watch this video tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I'll be I'll be in person tomorrow, so I'll be in your class.
Okay, cool. I also just got an email that said Julius will be in person tomorrow. I think.
Oh, great! He's gonna pop in that class and make a lot of noise.
Can you please bully Julius? Just be ruthless to him.
just bully him.
Yeah. Don't let him feel happy. If he leaves the class and he's like, if he looks like he's about to cry, don't make him cry, but like make him close.
Like on the verge. Like, I want to see shiny eyes. I don't want them to overflow, but I want to see some shiny eyes.
No. That's my worst fear, making Julius cry. Like, I don't like.
I love that's your worst fear.
If you watch him get into his car and he just kind of has to like take a deep sigh and just rests his head on the steering wheel, that's the ideal.
Yeah, that's perfect. I would love to see it. I would love to see Isaiah break Julius's spirit.
Oh my God, I would hate that so much. I would hate myself. I don't even know if I can show my face again.
Sometimes teachers take pride in making kids cry, depending upon the kid. I made a kid cry last year, and I was like, haha, yes. There was a kid who deserved to be crying.
Yeah,
I never cried. Actually,
I don't even feel sympathy for them at all. I'm sorry.
They usually deserve it. I have made a kid or two cry before, and I was like, oh God, I didn't mean to do that, and like really felt bad about it. But You know.
I was going to ask if LeBron has ever cried in school, and then I realized yes, he has because of
Yeah,
me.
he's done it in front of me before in Mr. Nelson's class over something as stupid as a paper assignment. Like literally, you can write it on your computer and you're crying over a lost piece of paper with
Oh,
a
Yeah,
street
that's me
address.
though. That's me though.
Like literally, he was crying over a missed street address. Like
I should laugh at him for crying, but
So Gino, Ian, and no, not Ian. He was innocent in this scenario. It was Gino, Troy, I think maybe Francis and I.
mhm,
Um, it was in ninth grade, so Gino was still here before he died, then came back to life.
yeah, resurrected Gino.
Yeah, before he died to us,
Mhm.
and so it was near the end, and Madison can vouch for this because she was also there. We we were presenting like presentations about animals, and
Yeah.
once LeBron finished his, it wasn't that great. I'll be honest. But that's besides the point. But he left the room, and we, Gino, Julius, Troy, Francis, and I, we kept saying "Bye, Bron" in like a very like quick, punchy tone. So it was like "Bye, Bron, bye, Bron." Whenever he walked back in, he just said a "Hi, Bron," or we just kept saying "Hi, Bron, hi, Bron." And then whenever he left again, because he was like a little bit like caught off guard by it,
Yeah.
we kept going "Bye, Bron." And then he left for the rest of class and didn't come back.
Was
So
was he upset?
I think he was upset. I'm pretty sure.
I don't. I don't get why. It's
I don't
weird, but it's not mean.
yeah, when LeBron gets upset, he likes to raise Cane. I just walk away when he does that. Like literally, because I think it's going to get more scary. Because I feel like it might get physical. You know.
You know,
I
he
don't.
almost punched me one time, right?
I remember that.
Literally almost
Wasn't
punched,
it like
literally almost punched Miss Kim too. I was
Yeah.
like, don't hit my mom. Don't.
He actually he had his one fist out and then a pencil in his other hand, like he was gonna simultaneously punch me and stab me.
Yeah, he gets
and
so
then
mad. Somebody wakes him up. Like you're not supposed to be sleeping in class. Like get up. Like
he does that and then he's like, I gotta stop doing that.
Yes. And like to his credit, I guess to his credit, he's apologized for that for like a year and a half now. Like just occasionally out of the blue, he'll be like, "Oh, Miss McClellan, I'm really sorry about that time I almost punched you." And I'm like, "Yeah, you've said that before. Like, we don't need to keep dragging up the past."
he said, he just hates being woke up. You're supposed to wake up, dude. Like literally, it's class. And supposed to get an education. Like what the heck are you sleeping for?
I know. He just has weird dramatic reactions to stuff. Because
Yes.
I didn't wake him up, but I mean it was kind of my fault. I knocked his knee out, like I kicked his knee out, and like I shouldn't be doing that to kids, but like they shouldn't also punch me or stab me in retaliation. So
I feel like his brain is in like a constant state of like, if someone makes fun of him, he just thinks about like the perfect comeback for the rest of the day. But he does that for every single time someone's made fun of him. So that's why his brain is running on like 98% power all day.
No, didn't you and like you, Julius, and Francis, you like walked into class one time. You guys like Brawny, Brawny. He was like, nobody calls me Brawny except my mom and cute girls.
oh no, they don't. I don't think anyone except his mom has ever called him that.
Maybe those two aren't mutually exclusive.
Too. I don't want to think about it. Okay, well, good little LeBron tangent there.
One last thing, we should do like keep a chart of every single person at Allegro that has called LeBron Bronny. Just keep track of who LeBron allows
Support
to be called Bronny by. Yeah.
You could you could turn that into a math thing. Like say that you were doing it for math if necessary. If someone was like, "This is mean," and you're bullying him.
I think LeBron is in his own Truman Show.
I feel like a little bit that he is, because think about how much we talk about him. Like, is he our protagonist?
He is
No.
the main character in this story.
I gotta find that picture of the Allegro Bible and see where he landed on that.
What a cool dude. He's the Messiah.
Yep. Really cool.
He's like a general messiah, and it seems like everybody else is
He's a character. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys go because the bell's fixing to ring. I like 3 minutes, but I'm gonna go see about this meeting I'm supposed to have. So I will see you guys tomorrow.
Goodbye.
Yeah.